How's it going, everyone? Hope you're all keeping well, and welcome back to a new video here for the RTA MX5 World Series. We are at Mid-Ohio here today for round 4. Round 3 last week I didn't race in because I was on holidays, so the last video I had was round 2 at Lime Rock Park, and if you've missed that, make sure you give it a check out before we get into this one. So even though I didn't race last week in Donington, we'll still take a quick look at the standings after 3 rounds. And you can see that Ronan Doherty takes the championship lead over Conor Melia, dropping down into 2nd place. And then last season's champion in the IndyCars, Dylan McClemmons, moved up into the top 3 and well within contention of going back to back here in RTA. For myself, down in 28th place, losing a couple of spots, but come the season's end, when drop rounds and all are taken into account, the 0 points from not racing last week will hopefully help myself jump up the standings a bit. And speaking of standings, since the last video I've done, the B Championship has come into effect, which I have been put into, which understandable really. I haven't had the greatest start to the season. So taking a quick look at the B Series standings now, you can see Dave Collier leading the way over Emma Dempsey, and then Ross Wheatley in 3rd place, myself down in P10 with just 21 points. But being in the B Series now gives a bit of another goal to try and reach, and I think I'm going to try and aim to hopefully finish in the top 5 of this championship, which isn't going to be easy. A lot of us in the B Series are very similar on pace, so hopefully we can try and get a couple of good results over these lot and try and get into the top 5. The likes of Dave Collier and Emma Dempsey up the top of the standings are also very close, or in the top 10 of the main standings, so they're very quick drivers, and yeah, we'll have to be driving our very best to hopefully beat them or get close come the end of the 8 rounds. But with all that then, we move into this one, round 4, at the Mid-Ohio Sportscar course, one that we raced at in the IndyCar series last season, and I had pretty good results in that round. A couple of incidents means I didn't get quite the results that I would have hoped for, or that my pace kind of showed, but had some good racing, good fun, and is a great track for that. So hopefully more of it this evening, and hopefully some more good results and maybe a couple of less incidents. But we're in qualifying here now, coming through the final turn to set my first proper lap in this session. Bit into qualifying now, but that was my first clean lap. Had a couple of off tracks, a few mistakes, so good to get one on the board in P10. And now we're on what was my best lap in qualifying. Through turn 1, getting a much better run, getting the inside apex, clipping the curb and helping the car around. 6.5 tenths up, going into the keyhole. Turn 2, the hairpin at the top of the hill. Getting the car turned in nicely, using the curb to try and rotate the car, and getting on the power as early as possible onto the longest straight on this track. Continuing to gain time as I got a better exit there through the kink of turn 3 and heading down into turn 4, a corner where I saw a lot of action in the IndyCar race here. So hopefully we can make a few moves here later on in this video as well. Through turn 5 now, over the hill, trying not to lose the rear end of the car, throwing it into 6 then and into the S's, over 9 tenths up now. Kind of lost speed flat out through turn 8 as we head into turn 9, Thunder Valley. Again, kind of drifting the car almost over the hill, gets a bit loose on the exit, getting the power down. Lose a bit of time there, but hopefully we can try and gain some of it back in the final section of the track. Through turn 11, throwing it in, car wants to understeer a lot there. Then into the carousel of turn 12, going down through the gears. Getting to the apex and getting on the power really early, flat out through the final corner when I come across the line to improve by just under 8 tenths of a second to set a 136.888 and put me into P11. I did keep going for another lap, and through turn 1 we weren't up by about a tenth and a half, but just going off track on the exit. The next flying lap then wasn't really improving, so was going to try and focus on setting up another flying lap, but in the second last corner, just losing the back end trying to set up the exit and kind of ruined the lap before it started. So went back to the pits, went out for one final go, but as you can see here, just through the kink of turn 3, trying to go it a bit too fine, not really going off track but still getting an off track warning, and that was the end of my qualifying session. So in the end was moved down to 13th place, 1.7 seconds off Dylan McClemens on pole, just ahead of his brother Sean, with Dara Halley in third place. Dara having a really good season in these MX5s. As for the B Series Championship, you can see the blue names, Emma Dempsey in P8, the fastest of us lot in qualifying. Ross Wheatley starting just ahead of myself. So P3 of the B Series drivers. Hopefully we can try and at least get ahead of Ross and get a couple of points on him. Maybe try and catch up to Emma, but more importantly get a good result and a better starting position for race 2. So for the first time here in Mid-Ohio for round 4 of the championship, the lights go on, revs build up, the lights eventually go out, dropping the first stage of the clutch, then dropping the second stage, and we get a pretty good start, starting to pull alongside Ross on the run into turn 1. Always a tricky corner here in Mid-Ohio. On the inside line, really just making sure that I don't run wide into anybody, and we keep it nice and clean. Emma starting in P8 had a pretty horrible start. She's behind me now as we run up into the keyhole, taking it nice and easy on the opening lap here. David Prunty in the red car goes for a move on Ross with the inside line, and we get a really good exit on the run down the straight, carry a lot of momentum, and we manage to get ahead of Ross as well, and just in the slipstream of David, which will help us down the hill into turn 4. Didn't really feel like there was a need to defend into this corner, just kind of turning in for an early apex, as on the exit there that was Ronan Doherty, who was gone for a spin, championship leader, going around on the first lap here in Mid-Ohio. So another place for myself, which is good for me, but I can imagine that we will see Ronan later in the race, if not at the early stages of race 2, as he makes his way back up towards the front where he really belongs. But yeah, keeping it nice and clean here on this opening lap, just easing my way into the race. This track was one that I only really learned for the Indy cars and haven't really driven it in anything other than that. And up ahead, that is someone gone for a spin. That was Peter McCann. I think Evan Walsh tapped him around, and yeah, a lot of carnage on this opening lap. Luckily we managed to avoid it all, and at the end we're after moving up into P9. So 4 places gained, 3 of them I think, or at least 2, yeah, 2 of them because of other people having issues. But as I mentioned, not a track I'm overly familiar with other than in the IndyCar, so just kind of learning on the go here. Didn't do a whole lot of practice for this, and yeah, just trying to keep it nice and tidy on the grey stuff and pointing in the right direction. Bit of a gap now to Emma, as you can see in the bottom right, the lovely new iRacing UI graphics, so don't have the eye overlays down for the relative anymore, still have it in the standards in the top right. Hopefully someday iRacing will allow us to do that within the game and won't need any of these things. But for now, we're still behind David, as I think that was Keith Dempsey not happy with something that had happened. But yeah, keeping it nice and clean, just outside the top 8 now, and hopefully we try and gain a couple of more places. We skip ahead then from lap 2 to the beginning of lap 5, because myself, David, Dermot and Evan have pretty much been line astern, not really too much happening, but it's all starting to kick off here now, as Dermot had a go on Evan on the pitch straight into turn 1, and that allows us all to close up. I have the inside line trying to get a move on David. With the inside line, shorter route to go, but on the outside he's able to get the better exit, carrying more momentum and keep that position I think I kind of missed an upshift there as well, which didn't really help the cause, but I think Dave was going to hold that one anyway, as now he is right behind Dermot right behind Evan. I'm just kind of sitting back here waiting to hopefully pick up the pieces of anything that might happen and try and get involved some way. Have a little bit of a look down the inside of David there, but wasn't really going to try and go for a move. As you can see in the rear view mirror now, Emma is after catching up to us as Dermot loses the car and exits stage left, sends him down a couple of places. As into the Thunder Valley, I was a bit caught out there by David braking a little bit early. Luckily don't run into the back of it, but now Emma has a bit of an overlap, but we have the inside line for the third to last corner. I managed to hold that place for now. This fighting and Dermot going for his bit of a spin has created a bit of a gap to Evan and might put a bit of an end to this battle for a little while. But the battling wasn't over for myself just yet, as towards the end of lap 6 in the rear view mirror we have Ronan Doherty. Just like I mentioned earlier in the race, I kind of expect him to come through eventually. He has the outside line for this third to last corner and he has more of an overlap than Emma did, and he managed to get the move done. My bit of a compromise line is going to allow Emma to have a bit of a look around the outside of the carousel, the second last corner, but have the inside line, and we managed to carry the momentum around the final turn, and crossing the line to start the final lap we managed to hold that position. And then there's going to be one more twist in the tail of this opening race. Dara Halley going slow down the back straight. Don't know if he has some damage from an incident, a slowdown or whatever, but he drops from 4th place down behind Emma into P10. I move into P8, and as we come around the final corner, that is where I'm going to finish. Caught up to the cars ahead with Ronan putting a move on David, but wasn't able to take advantage of that, and we finish in 8th position.
Alright, there's the checkered flag.
So 8th it was then, up 5 positions from where I started and just over 10 seconds behind Sean McClemens, who got the jump on Dylan, who was on pole to take the win, with Conor Melia then rounding out the top 3. 8th for me, 9th for Emma, and then 11th for David Collier. The 3 of us, the top 3 of the B Series drivers. So taking the win of that one and gaining a couple of points on those, but we're going to have to gain a lot more if we're going to try and challenge them in the championship, and that all starts from 8th place in race 2. So getting ready to go here for the second time at Mid-Ohio. The 4 red lights come on, put the foot to the floor, and the green lights come on. Drop the clutch and don't get the greatest start this time. David Prunty ahead is starting to pull away, and in the mirror behind you can see Dara Halley is gaining on us. He sends it down the inside of turn 1 and we managed to hold it for now around the outside, kind of a bit more momentum, and we are going to have the inside line for turn 2. Lost space up ahead, so can brake pretty much at my normal braking point, but Dara sends it around the outside. Gets the move almost done and then just kind of comes in towards the apex, making a bit of contact, so a bit more spatial awareness needed by Dara there. And I've somehow got some damage on the back end, and not really sure where I got hit in the rear, but going to have to carry that through the rest of this race, and hopefully it doesn't affect us too much. Into turn 4, that was Dave Collier going for a move down the inside. We were 3 wide then with Peter McCann on the right side. A bit over optimistic there by David. I think he was really just trying to defend from Peter more so than try and get a move done on me. But luckily we managed to survive everyone and we're safe in the right direction. We skip ahead then to the end of lap 1, starting lap 2, and through on the exit of turn 1, go really wide and coming back on the track, really lucky there to keep the car pointing the right way. Luckily we had built a bit of a gap behind because I think they were fighting a bit, so don't lose any places there, as now we just forward ahead, skipping ahead quickly, and unfortunately through turn 5 we're just going to downshift a bit too early like I did at one stage in qualifying, and that locks up the rear wheels and sends me for a spin. Luckily managed to keep it out of the barrier and don't get any damage, but we have lost a lot of places. Now down into P14,
Flat for you.
and unfortunately it is just going to get worse, as on lap 4 then through turn 1, hitting the curb on the inside just at the wrong angle, spins the car around and we end up in the barrier. And as you can see there, a lot of damage to the bumper or the bonnet of the car. I wanted to try and get around to the pits, but unfortunately just not able to see, so I decided it was safer to just pull to the side and get the tow back to the pits. And unfortunately that was pretty much it for my race then. Coming around the final corner for the last time, we're in between Ronan Duffy and Emma Dempsey, and not really obeying blue flags, but if you want to see the reason for that, you can check out the last video and it'll become pretty clear. Come across the line, finish race 2 in P17.
Chicken flag, chicken flag.
So 17th it was then, and a lap down from Sean, taking 2 wins from 2 here to start round 4 ahead of Dylan, and then Sean McGoldrick in 3rd place. And yeah, not the best race from myself. And then looking at the B Series drivers, Dave Collier taking the 1st place of us, then Ronan and Emma, all of us, the 7 of us in this race, occupying the bottom 7 spots in race 2 here. So hopefully for myself I can improve, and hopefully for myself as well that the rest of them can kind of stay where they were so I can gain a couple of points. But just hope we have a good clean race, a few nice battles, and hopefully it leads to some good results to round out round 4 here in mid-Ohio. So for the final time here then tonight from the last row of the grid, 17th and 2nd last, and starting from beyond the turn of the final corner. So going to be an interesting start here as I get going and get a really nice launch already up ahead of Ross Wheatley, and getting a good run on the cars ahead. We'll be side by side with Phil Upson into turn 1. Around the outside we get that move done, and then on the eggs we're going to get a good run on Ronan Duffy, and we switch across to the left hand side, really because I didn't want to run into the back of him and I thought he was going to cover the inside line, so we could try and get the move around the outside of turn 2. And on the exit there's cars all over the road up ahead, and we're just going to squeeze ahead of Ronan and get past that Dermot Toomey, and I think Dave Punty were having some issues there, so up a couple of spots already. Now in the slipstream of Ollie, who is racing under Nicky Meredith and Emma Dempsey, and into turn 4 they break really early, so I end up being down the inside. A bit of contact made there with Emma which sends her into a spin, and right at this moment I was thinking there's nothing I could do about that. Don't think it was my fault in the slightest, but had to just put those thoughts in the back of my mind as we come over the crest. Another 2 cars off the track after having an issue, and just taking it nice and easy there, just making sure to avoid anything that was after happening. That means that I didn't get the greatest run through Thunder Valley, and luckily Ronan Duffy wasn't able to get too close and try and make a move. But you can see in the mirror there, Ronan, I think he just went a bit deep, and that caused him to run into Dermot and sent Ronan for a spin. Dermot managed to continue on, so all happening here on the opening lap, and somehow managed to move from 17th up into 9th. So really good opening lap here, as now we're going to try and improve our position even more, right behind Ollie in the Lightning McQueen car. Outside line into turn 2,
Clear on the right.
I knew I could brake really late there and get the move done, out braking him and pretty much being ahead before we even get to the apex. But taking a quick look at a replay now of that incident with Emma into turn 4, you can see here where I've stopped. This is where Ollie started to brake, and this is where Emma started to brake, and I'm going to highlight here now where the normal braking point is, so you can see why I managed to close up so much. Then on the inside, just a little bit of contact, but it was pretty much mostly net code. As you can see here, at the point of the contact, there wasn't really a whole lot of contact, and yeah, unfortunate incident there. And Emma did report that, as I think she reports nearly any incident that she's involved with, but it was decided that it was a racing incident and didn't end up getting any penalty for that, which I think is the correct decision. And I am one to usually hold my hand up when I have made a mistake and say when I deserve the punishment. But moving ahead now to lap 4, and Dermot Toomey is after catching up, and he was looking to have a move around the outside of turn 4. I just kind of covered the inside line and we were able to hold position. We fast forward ahead now. Through Thunder Valley, we don't get the greatest exit or run through there, and Dermot gets a good run and heading up into the left-hander there. He was probably close enough to maybe show his nose and have a look there, but having raced Dermot a couple of times in a few of the RTA seasons now, I kind of felt comfortable enough to not defend. But we skip ahead then onto the very next lap, and the two Sean McClemens and Sean McGoldrick were after coming together, so we've moved up another 2 positions now into P6. I've started to collect a bit of a train behind me. Got a few cars that are probably faster than me, but it is kind of tricky to overtake, as once again Dermot probably close enough to have a look. Once again I felt comfortable enough not to defend, but into this last and second last corner I do take a bit of a tighter line to make sure he can't go down the inside. But if you look in the mirror, that did allow Keith Dempsey to go side by side with Dermot. The pair come together, and unfortunately Keith ended up going for a spin. And to be honest, I was almost a little happy about that, or I suppose happy isn't the right thing to say, because it's never nice to see people have incidents, but I felt a lot more comfortable having Dermot right behind me than Keith, since I just felt more confident in being able to battle nicely, cleanly and fairly with Dermot than I did with Keith, which is nothing against him. He's a very good driver. It's just I feel like I have more experience racing against Dermot. And speaking of racing against him, on the exit of turn 1 he has a really nice run there. I keep the car in the middle of the track, decide to let him choose where he wants to go. He picks the outside line, I have the inside for turn 2, which usually you want, but you've seen on a couple of occasions throughout these races that you can carry a lot of momentum around the outside. And now going to an off-board shot, we are side by side with Dermot on the run through turn 3, heading down into turn 4. A lot of damage to the front of that Teng Tools car, as I think that's Dave Collier or David Prunty, one of the two, I'm not sure, also getting involved in this. We have the inside line for turn 4, and we managed to stay ahead. And into turn 5, Dermot just kind of runs into the back of me a small bit, sends him wide. Luckily I don't end up going for any kind of a spin there, and we all live to fight another day, but getting very close here. And it's going to get even closer now. Sean McClemens right up behind me, as is Sean McGoldrick, and two that had a spin through this furry corner a couple of laps ago after recovering right onto the back of us after getting past Dermot and the other cars, and now they're right on the back of me. McClemens after making a few taps with the back of my car, he's a lot faster than me, and he's probably used to racing against drivers that are going a bit quicker than I am, so can't really blame for a few little nudges into the back bumper. But I didn't really want to let him pass just yet, especially through these corners, because I felt like it would lead to me being shoveled a bit wide, and I didn't want to allow Dermot to have an opportunity to get past. But heading into the keyhole here, I decided to leave the outside line open, let Sean McClemens and Sean McGoldrick through, and try and get a good exit and just stay on the back of these two. It was kind of inevitable that they were going to get past at some stage, so it was better to just make it easy for them, I suppose, and mean that it's safer, not get involved, lose time, or go for any kind of a spin with some contact racing against drivers that are faster than me. And then into turn 4, McGoldrick gets past, and we resume our place just ahead of Dermot Toomey. skipping ahead to lap 11 then, I've been under a little bit of pressure from Dermot, but not to the extent where I felt I've had to defend too much. But coming towards the end of the race then, the pressure is going to be piled on. Heading through turn 4 and with the slipstream, which is pretty powerful in these cars around this track. Heading down into turn 4, I decide to defend the inside line. Make Dermot have to go the long way around if he wants to get the move, and manage to hold it for now. And now on the second to last lap, through the keyhole on the exit, Dermot is closer than he has ever been, I think. So once again I'm going to defend the inside line. Through the kink of turn 3, we're going to jump on board with Dermot because I thought I defended to the right hand side here, but I unfortunately left just the Mazda MX5's width of room there, and Dermot takes the opportunity to take that space down the inside. We're side by side through turn 5 and he just has a bit of an overlap that's going to give him the inside for turn 6. We're still side by side heading into turn 7, but it's not somewhere you want to go side by side, so I have to back out. And unfortunately, after a race long defence against Dermot, on the second to last lap he managed to get past. I fully sent it then on the last lap, but unfortunately wasn't able to get back past. Our best opportunity would have been into turn 4, and that has come and gone at this stage as we head into the last 2 corners. Just going to take it nice and easy now, make sure to bring it home, and through the final turn going to come across the line for a very good P9 finish. So 9th it was then, up 8 places from where I started, so best result in the field in terms of positions gained. Almost 24 seconds behind Dylan McClemens, who in race 3 finally got his win here in Mid-Ohio, with his brother Sean taking the first 2 wins after he got pole, and then it was Connor Melia and Ronan Doherty rounding out the podium. Connor and Ronan, 2 of the good few drivers in RTA that are racing in the Leinster Trophy in the Formula V's at Mondello Park this coming weekend. As I'm recording this, when it goes out it would have been the day before, so hopefully those guys all had good races, and I'm going to Mondello at the weekend to look at that race, so hopefully it'll be good races and they can get some good results. But moving on now back to the virtual world, looking at the standings after 4 rounds in this MX5 championship, and it is Ronan who retains the lead of the championship. Connor in second, gaining a few points, now just 7 back, with Dylan making sure that the top 3 remain unchanged, also closing in on the top 2. For myself, moving up 6 places into 22nd place, and then in the B championship I move up into 7th. Dave remaining in the lead, Emma in 2nd, and Phil Upson moving into the top 3. With me taking 2 of the 3 wins, I suppose, of the B series, I have the best result of us 11, so moving closer to the top 5, which is my aim. Still 134 off the lead, which is a tall order to try and close in, but still have half the season to go, and I feel like my pace is only getting stronger, getting more comfortable in the car, so anything is possible and hopefully we can continue to improve. But that is it for this video, this round of the RTA MX5 Championship. If you did enjoy, make sure to leave a like and subscribe so you don't miss the rest of the season. But until the next one, thanks for watching and see you then.